The biggest tip of my life was the first one I refused to touch. It was 11:47 on a Friday night at Belmont House, and I was already thinking about getting home, taking off my black Waitress shoes, and forgetting every expensive conversation I had heard that evening. The private dining room smelled like coffee and polished wood. 6 businessmen had just left after a dinner that lasted nearly 4 hours. I collected the final glasses, straightened the white linen, and carried the leather check folder toward the service station. Nathan Cole, our general manager, was waiting beside the register. "Good table?" he asked. "Quiet," I said, which usually means expensive. He laughed. I opened the folder. The dinner total was $1,186. Beneath it, written clearly on the tip line, was $10,000. I stared at the number. Nathan leaned closer. "Hannah, I see it. $10,000. I can count." His smile widened. "You just made more tonight than some people make in 2 months. I should have been excited." I was not. Something felt wrong. I looked at the signature. Daniel Mercer. He had barely spoken to me all evening, except once. Halfway through dessert, he had asked whether I worked every Friday. I told him my schedule changed. Then he asked another question. "Who closes the private dining register?" At the time, I assumed he was making conversation. Now the receipt felt heavier in my hand. "I am not taking this," I said. Nathan stopped smiling. "What?" "The tip. Hannah, people leave ridiculous tips here. Not like this. You serve them for 4 hours." I carried plates and poured coffee. I did not perform heart surgery. Nathan lowered his voice. "Do not talk yourself out of $10,000. I looked again at the receipt. My employee identification number was printed beneath the transaction. My name was attached to it. My shift. My register. My table. "Who closes this transaction?" I asked. "I do." "And who reviews it tomorrow?" "Accounting." "Does Mercer know that?" Nathan frowned. Why would he care? That was exactly the question. I placed the receipt flat on the counter. The printer hummed beside us. Somewhere in the kitchen, a metal tray hit a rack with a sharp clang. "Call whoever handles his account," I said. Nathan stared at me. "At midnight?" "Yes." "You are serious." "Very." His expression changed. "Daniel Mercer does not have an account with Belmont House." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "Then who arranged tonight?" Nathan checked the reservation screen. His face went still. The booking had been made through Carter Hospitality Group. I knew that name. Everyone in Philadelphia hospitality knew it. Dominic Carter owned restaurants, hotels, private clubs, and enough downtown property that people lowered their voices when discussing him. Nathan reached for his phone. "I need to call Mr. Carter." I pushed the receipt toward him. "Good. And what exactly should I tell him?" I looked at the $10,000 tip one more time. "Tell him his guest just left a waitress enough money to make everyone stop asking why." 26 minutes later, a black sedan stopped beneath the Belmont House awning. I knew because Nathan had checked the front window 4 times while pretending he was not nervous. The restaurant was officially closed. Chairs rested beneath linen-covered tables, the kitchen lights were dim, and the only sound came from the register printer beside me. Then the front door opened. Dominic Carter walked in alone. He was taller than I expected, broad through the shoulders, wearing a charcoal suit over a white shirt with no tie. Black tattoos covered his hands and climbed above his collar, disappearing beneath expensive fabric. Nathan immediately straightened. "Mr. Carter." Dominic barely looked at him. His eyes went to the receipt on the counter. "Where is Mercer?" "He left about 30 minutes ago," Nathan said. Dominic picked up the receipt. He read the total, then the tip, then my employee identification number. "Who served the table?" "I did," I said. His eyes moved to me. "Not rude. Not friendly. Measuring." "Hannah Brooks." "Yes." "Nathan says you refused the money." "I refuse to accept the transaction until someone explains it. It is a tip. Then it can survive a few questions." Nathan looked like he wanted the floor to open beneath him. Dominic did not react. "What questions?" I told him about Mercer asking who closed the private dining register. Dominic's expression changed slightly. Exact words. "Who closes the private dining register?" When, around 10:15, dessert had just been served. Dominic took out his phone. "Accounting can hold the payment until morning." "That is not enough." Nathan whispered my name like a warning. Dominic slowly lowered his phone. "Why not?" "Because my name is attached to that receipt. If there is something wrong with it, holding the payment does not remove me from the record." Nothing is going to happen to you. You cannot know that yet. Silence filled the empty dining room. Dominic looked at Nathan. Give us a minute. Nathan disappeared toward the office so quickly I almost felt sorry for him. Dominic rested both tattooed hands on the counter. You think Mercer deliberately attached $10,000 to your employee record? I think he asked about the register before leaving $10,000 on it. That is not proof. I did not say it was. Then what do you want me to do? Find out why he cared. Dominic studied me for several seconds. I can handle this without involving you. I shook my head. You are already involving me. My identification number is printed right there. His jaw tightened. Take the tip. I will personally guarantee there is no risk to you. I looked at the receipt between us. $10,000. Enough to cover months of rent. Enough to make saying yes very easy. I pushed it back toward him. No, Dominic's eyebrows lifted. No. You do not get to decide what risk I should accept because you can afford to make the consequences disappear. For the first time since entering Belmont House, Dominic Carter had nothing ready to say, and that silence told me I had finally asked the right question. Dominic finally looked away from me and back at the receipt. All right, he said. We ask questions. It was the first time he had spoken to me like my answer had changed his plan. Nathan returned from the office carrying his laptop. Dominic asked him to pull every large gratuity from private dining during the previous 6 months. How large? Nathan asked. Anything above $5,000. Nathan typed for less than a minute before the screen filled with transactions. Most were ordinary. Then I saw one that made me lean closer. $8,000. 2 months earlier. Private room 3. Who served that table? I asked. Nathan opened the record. Rachel Morgan. I knew Rachel. She had worked at Belmont House for nearly 3 years before leaving suddenly in June. Why did she quit? Dominic asked. She said she found another job, Nathan replied. Did she? I asked. Nathan hesitated. I never checked. Dominic glanced at me, then back at the screen. Who left the tip? Nathan opened the receipt. Different customer. Different credit card. But the reservation had been arranged through Carter Hospitality Group. The room suddenly felt colder. Find the others, Dominic said. Nathan searched again. $6,500 at another Carter restaurant downtown. $9,000 at a hotel dining room near Rittenhouse Square. For transactions. For different employees. For different customers. I pointed at the dates. What happened after these? Dominic frowned. What do you mean? If the money is not really about the servers, then the servers are only markers. Something else must happen after the transactions. Dominic took out his phone and called someone named Andrew Bennett. He asked for the dates of major property negotiations during the last 6 months. 10 minutes later, an email arrived. Nathan opened it beside the restaurant records. Nobody spoke. Each unusual tip appeared within 24 hours of a private negotiation involving one of Dominic's properties. Dominic's tattooed fingers rested motionless against the counter. That cannot be coincidence, Nathan whispered. Maybe not, I said, but we still do not know what it means. Dominic looked at the newest receipt. Mercer attended tonight's dinner before Monday's Kensington acquisition meeting. Then tonight might be another marker, I said. For what? That is the question. Nathan suddenly pointed at the screen. Wait. He opened Rachel Morgan's old transaction. Her tip was processed at 11:52. He opened the next one. 11:51. The third. 11:53. Tonight's receipt showed 11:52. My stomach tightened. Same time window, I said. Dominic stepped closer. Who closes private dining registers around midnight? Nathan looked uncomfortable. Usually the server and manager together. So every transaction creates a record showing exactly who was working, I said. Dominic's eyes narrowed. And exactly when? I looked at the 4 timestamps lined across the screen. Maybe the amount is not the message. Then what is, he asked. I tapped the time beside my name. Maybe this is. Dominic stared at the 4 timestamps until the restaurant clock clicked past 12:30. If the time matters, somebody needs these transactions to confirm something happened, he said. Or that someone was somewhere, I replied. Nathan pulled up Rachel Morgan's old receipt again. Rachel closed her register at 11:52, but the private dinner ended before 11. So why wait almost an hour? Dominic asked. Nathan shook his head. I do not know. I leaned closer to the screen. Rachel's transaction included a manager approval code. Tonight's receipt had one too. Whose approval? I asked. Nathan checked. Mine tonight. He opened Rachel's record. His expression changed. Lauren Mitchell, our event coordinator. Dominic immediately reached for his phone. Do not call her yet, I said. His eyes moved to me. Why? Because we have one name, not an explanation. She approved the transaction. That was her job. Dominic lowered the phone slowly. He was learning. Nathan checked the other unusual tips. One had Lauren's approval. Another belonged to a hotel manager. The fourth had Nathan's. No single manager connected them. Different employees, different managers, different customers, I said. But the same kind of reservation. Nathan searched the booking details. Every dinner had been entered as a private hospitality event through Carter Hospitality Group. Dominic stepped behind the laptop. Who can create those reservations? Corporate events, property teams, executive assistants. Nathan said, too many people. I studied the dates again. Something bothered me. Where is Rachel now? Nathan shrugged. I heard she moved to Delaware. Did anyone ask why she left 3 days after receiving $8,000? Silence. Dominic looked at Nathan. Find her contact information. 10 minutes later, Nathan found an old emergency contact file with a forwarding email. Dominic wanted his office to reach out Monday. I shook my head. Send her a simple message from Belmont House. Tell her we are reviewing an old payroll record and ask whether she is willing to talk. Why not tell her everything? Because we do not know everything. Nathan sent it. We expected nothing until morning. The reply came 7 minutes later. Rachel was awake. She agreed to a phone call. Nathan placed his phone on speaker. Her voice sounded cautious. Is this about that tip? Nobody moved. Dominic looked at me. I answered. Yes. Why did you leave after receiving it? Rachel went quiet. Because the next morning a man called me and asked whether I remembered exactly what time I closed the register. My fingers tightened around the edge of the counter. Who called? I never got his name. What did he want? He wanted me to confirm 11:52. Nothing else. Dominic's expression hardened. Did he offer you anything? No. He just thanked me and hung up. I looked at tonight's receipt. 11:52. Same minute. Same pattern. Rachel, I asked, do you remember anything unusual about the dinner itself? She hesitated. One thing. The guest who left the tip kept checking the clock. Dominic and I looked at each other. The money had never been the message. It was a receipt with a timestamp, created by an ordinary employee who had no reason to lie. Someone had been using people like us as witnesses without ever telling us what we were witnessing. By 1:15 in the morning, Nathan had lined up all 4 unusual receipts on the service counter. For restaurants. For servers. For oversized tips. For transactions completed between 11:51 and 11:53. Dominic stood beside me, sleeves pushed back, black tattoos covering his forearms while he studied the dates. These are confirmations, he said. Of meetings? Nathan asked. Maybe, I said. But confirmations for whom? Dominic called Andrew Bennett, his chief financial officer. Andrew answered on the 3rd ring, sounding surprisingly awake. Dominic explained only that we were reviewing hospitality transactions connected to upcoming property negotiations. Send me the dates, Andrew said. Nathan emailed them. Less than 5 minutes later, Andrew called back. Every date matches a preliminary negotiation window, he said. Kensington, Harbor Point, Walnut Street, and North Broad. Dominic looked at me. What happened immediately after those windows? I asked. Andrew paused. Our valuation recommendations changed. By how much? Different amounts. Usually between 3 and 7%. Nathan frowned. That could mean millions of dollars. It does, Andrew said. Dominic's voice became colder. Who recommended the changes? Different analysts submitted the reports, but final recommendations came through my office. I watched Dominic's expression. He trusted Andrew. I could hear it in the way he stopped asking questions. Send everything to me, Dominic said. Tonight. After the call ended, Nathan began comparing reservation times against the negotiation calendar Andrew had sent. I noticed something strange almost immediately. The restaurant transactions did not happen before the private meetings. They happened afterward. Look, I said. Harbor Point meeting ended at 11:30. Receipt closed at 11:51. Dominic leaned closer. Walnut Street ended at 11:28. Receipt at 11:53. Nathan checked the others. Same pattern. So the receipt proves the meeting happened, he said. Not exactly, I replied. A calendar already proves a scheduled meeting happened. Dominic understood first. Unless the meeting was never on the calendar. Nathan searched the corporate schedule. His face changed. The dinners existed in restaurant records, but the corresponding negotiation meetings did not appear anywhere in Dominic's official calendar system. Andrew had identified them anyway. I felt the room become very quiet. How did Andrew know what meetings these dates matched? I asked. Dominic looked toward his phone. He handles financial strategy. He knows most negotiations. Most is not all. Nathan opened the Kensington schedule for Monday. No private meeting appeared near midnight. Yet Mercer had left $10,000 at 11:52 tonight. Tomorrow morning, Dominic said, I will bring Andrew in and ask him what. I said, how he knew. Dominic reached for his jacket. I shook my head. If these receipts are signals, whoever uses them expects tonight's signal to mean something. He stopped. You think we should wait? I think we should watch what changes before Monday. Dominic studied me for a long moment. A few hours earlier, he would have made the decision himself. This time he asked, what exactly are we watching? I pointed toward the unopened Kensington financial file Nathan had pulled onto the screen. The recommendation. If the receipt is a message, somebody is about to answer it. At 7:12 Saturday morning, my phone rang before my alarm. It was Dominic. The Kensington recommendation changed. I sat upright. When? 6:48. By how much? Purchase ceiling dropped from $92 million to $87 million. I stared at the pale morning light coming through my apartment window. Who submitted it? A pause. Nathan. That woke me faster than coffee. Our Nathan. His corporate credentials approved the hospitality verification attached to the recommendation. That does not mean he changed the price. His name is on the record. So was mine on a $10,000 tip I refused. Silence. Dominic understood immediately. Come to Belmont House, he said. I will be there in 30 minutes. When I arrived, Nathan was already inside the private dining room. His face looked exhausted. Dominic stood across from him in a black shirt, tattoos visible from his neck down both arms. A laptop sat open between them. I did not submit anything, Nathan said. My credentials should not even access property valuations. Dominic turned the screen toward me. Nathan's manager identification appeared beside the 11:52 transaction. Beneath it was an automated verification code attached to the new Kensington recommendation. The receipt created the code, I said. Nathan nodded. Apparently, closing certain corporate hospitality transactions generates a timestamp certificate. Why? Expense auditing. It confirms that an authorized manager verified the event. Dominic folded his arms. Which means Nathan's approval became proof that Mercer's dinner occurred at a specific time. But not proof of whatever happened outside this restaurant, I said. Dominic looked at Nathan. You had access to the register. Yes. You approved the transaction. Yes. And your credentials created the verification. Without me knowing it would be used for anything else. Dominic reached for his phone. I am suspending your access until we finish this. Wait, I said. He looked at me. Hannah, every record points to him. Every restaurant record. I stepped closer to the laptop. You are still looking for the person with access. Look for the person who needs the timestamps. Dominic's hand lowered. Nathan exhaled slowly. I opened the earlier transactions. Different servers. Different managers. Different locations. If Nathan were responsible, he would need access to systems at properties where he had never worked. Who receives these timestamp certificates? I asked. Nathan searched the system. Corporate finance, compliance, and executive accounting. Who can connect them to property recommendations? Dominic's expression changed. Andrew. Maybe Andrew, I said. But do not make the same mistake twice. Dominic gave me a tired look. You are becoming very committed to preventing me from accusing people. I am committed to evidence. Nathan opened the audit history for the Kensington recommendation. The original $92 million figure had been prepared Thursday by an analyst. At 6:48 Saturday morning, the file was revised. Show us who opened it before the change, I said. Nathan scrolled. One account accessed the document at 6:39. Andrew Bennett. Another account opened it at 6:46. Dominic Carter. Dominic frowned. I was asleep. Nobody spoke. He stared at his own name on the screen. Someone used my credentials. Or the system is showing us exactly what someone wants us to see, I said. Dominic looked at the 4 receipts, then at his own false access record. For the first time, the problem was no longer about finding a dishonest employee. Someone had built a trail using legitimate people as proof. Servers. Managers. Now Dominic himself. I pointed at the screen. Do not ask who had access. Dominic nodded slowly. Ask who benefits from making everyone else look responsible. By 8:20, Nathan had stopped defending himself and started helping us prove why the records could not be trusted. He pulled audit reports from all 4 restaurants while Dominic called corporate compliance and ordered them to preserve every related file without changing access permissions. Nobody was accused. Nobody was warned. That part mattered. Start with the money, I said. Dominic looked at me. The property money? The difference between the original recommendations and the revised ones. Nathan calculated the numbers. Harbor Point had dropped by nearly $4 million. Walnut Street by $2.7 million. North Broad by just over $3 million. Kensington would fall $5 million if Monday's recommendation stood. Who benefits from lower purchase ceilings? I asked. Dominic answered immediately. Competing buyers, sellers negotiating side terms, anyone who knows our limit before we make an offer. Nathan opened the negotiation files. Andrew reviewed every revised recommendation. Dominic's jaw tightened. That still does not prove he created them. I looked at him. You are learning. He gave me a dry smile. Apparently slowly. We compared the timestamps again. Every oversized tip appeared after an unlisted private meeting. Every financial recommendation changed the next morning. And every revised file passed through Andrew's office before reaching Dominic. What if the receipt is not telling Andrew that a meeting happened? Nathan asked. What if it tells him which meeting happened? That changed everything. Dominic pulled up the hospitality reservation codes. Each restaurant had a different location number. Belmont House was 14. The hotel dining room was 22. Rittenhouse was 31. The receipt did not need a written message. Location, date, and closing time created one. A code without looking like a code, I said. Nathan nodded. And ordinary staff unknowingly authenticated it. Dominic stared at the screen. Andrew designed our hospitality expense verification system. Silence settled over the room. There it was. Not proof. But finally, motive and opportunity were standing in the same place. Dominic reached for his phone. This time he stopped himself. What do we need? He asked me. Something only the person using the system would recognize. Nathan leaned forward. A false signal. Dominic looked between us. Explain. Create a private reservation that never happens, I said. Different location. Different time. Process no payment. Leave no real employee attached. Nathan shook his head. If we create a fake transaction, compliance will see it. Then do not create one, I said. Create only the reservation code and let Andrew believe a receipt will follow. Dominic understood. If the Kensington recommendation changes based on a meeting that never happened, we know someone is reacting to the signal. Nathan built a test reservation for Sunday night at a Carter hotel near Logan Square. No guest names. No server. No transaction. Only the internal event code visible to finance. At 9:16, the reservation entered the system. We waited. 9:30. Nothing. 10:15. Nothing. Then Dominic's phone vibrated. An email from Andrew. Subject, Kensington revision. Dominic opened it. Andrew recommended lowering the purchase ceiling another $2 million, citing new private market information received tonight. Nathan stared at the screen. There was no meeting tonight. No, I said. Dominic remained completely still. The man who could command entire rooms suddenly looked less angry than disappointed. He reacted to something that never happened. I nodded. Now you have your answer. Dominic closed the email, but he did not call Andrew. Instead, he looked at me. What happens next? A week earlier, I imagined a man. Like Dominic Carter never asked that question. Now I realized power had not changed because he had become weaker. It changed because, for once, he understood that listening could reveal what control had hidden. Monday morning arrived with rain against the windows of Carter Hospitality Group, and Dominic did something I had not expected. He invited me into the executive conference room. I wore my plain navy dress, comfortable black shoes, and the same confidence I carried between restaurant tables. Nathan sat beside me. Across from us were corporate compliance, outside counsel, and 2 senior finance officers. Andrew Bennett entered last. He smiled at Dominic. Then he noticed me. "Why is a Belmont waitress here?" he asked. Dominic did not answer for me. That mattered. "Because my employee record became part of your financial system Friday night," I said. Andrew sat down. "I have no idea what you mean." Dominic placed 4 receipts on the table. "Then help us understand." Andrew examined them without touching them. Large gratuities. Unusual, but hardly a finance matter. Nathan opened the transaction timeline on the wall display. Each receipt produced a hospitality verification timestamp. Each timestamp appeared before a property recommendation changed. Andrew shrugged. "Correlation." "I thought so too," Dominic said. Then Nathan displayed Sunday night's test reservation. Andrew's expression barely moved. "There was no dinner," I said. "No guest. No server. No receipt." I watched his eyes shift toward the screen. "Yet you sent Dominic a recommendation based on new private market information received that night." The room became silent. Andrew leaned back. "Information reaches finance from many sources. Then identify the source," one of the compliance officers said. Andrew hesitated. Only for a second. But after 3 days of watching people react to uncomfortable questions, I had learned how long 1 second could feel. I would need to review my notes. Dominic folded his tattooed hands on the table. "You will have that opportunity through the formal review." There was no shouting. No dramatic threat. Dominic simply turned the meeting over to compliance. Andrew's system access was suspended while the records were preserved and independently examined. Then something unexpected happened. Dominic asked them to review the employees attached to every unusual transaction too. "They were used as verification without informed involvement," he said. "Their names should be cleared in writing." I looked at him. Friday night. His first instinct had been to tell me he could make the risk disappear. Now he understood that protection was not the same as permission. By afternoon, Rachel received written confirmation that she had done nothing wrong. Nathan's record was cleared. My $10,000 tip was voided completely, exactly as I had requested. The compliance review also recommended removing employee identification numbers from external receipt records and separating restaurant approvals from financial verification systems. Dominic approved every change. When the meeting ended, he remained beside the long conference table while everyone else left. "You were right," he said. "About what?" "I kept trying to find someone to blame before understanding the system that made this possible." "That sounds expensive." "You enjoy reminding me when I am wrong. Only because you provide regular opportunities." He smiled. Then his expression softened. "I owe you more than an apology." "No, Hannah. That is exactly the lesson you are supposed to be learning." He stopped. I picked up my purse. "You do not owe me a reward because I noticed something. You owe the next employee a system where noticing something is enough to be heard." Dominic looked at the empty chairs around us. "Then, that is what I will build." I believed him, not because he sounded powerful, but because he had finally stopped trying to sound powerful at all. As I reached the door, he called my name. I turned. "Thank you," he said. No offer. No command. No money. Just 2 words. Somehow, after everything that had happened, they were worth more than the $10,000 I had refused. 3 weeks later, Belmont House closed at 11 on a quiet Friday night, and for once, nobody left me $10,000. I considered that progress. The formal review had confirmed that Andrew used hospitality timestamps to validate private information before adjusting property recommendations. His relationship with Carter Hospitality Group had ended, and every affected transaction had been independently reviewed. More important to me, Rachel, Nathan, and the other employees received written confirmation that they had done nothing wrong. The company changed too. Servers could report unusual transactions without going through management. Employee identification numbers disappeared from customer receipts. Hospitality records could no longer authorize financial decisions. Dominic even created an independent review channel for workers who believed their concerns were being ignored. I knew all of this because Nathan kept printing me updates and leaving them beside the coffee machine for me. "Your revolution has paperwork," he told me. "All worthwhile revolutions probably do." That night, after I finished closing my station, Nathan pointed toward the private dining room. "You have 1 table left. We are closed. Tell him." Dominic was sitting alone beneath the amber lights. Charcoal suit, white shirt, black tattoos visible above his collar and across his hands. No documents. No laptop. Just 2 cups of coffee and 1 receipt folder. Please tell me you did not leave another ridiculous tip, I said. I learned my lesson. I opened the folder. Dinner total, $28. Tip, $0. I looked at him. This might be the worst improvement plan I have ever seen. Keep reading. Beneath the total, Dominic had written one sentence. Coffee after your shift, if you want to. I looked up. He was waiting. That was new too. You could have just asked me. I am trying to become less dramatic. How is that going? Poorly. I sat across from him. 10 minutes. He pushed one coffee toward me. Cream. One sugar. Somehow he remembered. Kensington closed today, he said. At the original valuation? $91.8 million. Close enough. You sound disappointed. I was hoping my waitress salary would qualify me to negotiate the remaining $200,000. Dominic laughed softly. Then he became serious. I offered you a position at corporate. 3 times. You declined 3 times. You are learning to count too. I finally understood why. I wrapped both hands around the warm cup. Why? Because I kept treating opportunity like something I could hand you. As if your value increased because I recognized it. I said nothing. He continued. You already knew your value. I was the one catching up. That landed somewhere deeper than I expected. For years, people had looked at my curvy body, my apron, my comfortable shoes, and decided they understood the size of my life. Dominic had done something different eventually. He had listened when I told him who I was instead of deciding for me. So, he said, would you have dinner with me tomorrow? Somewhere you do not own. Agreed. No business talk. Agreed. And I choose dessert. He smiled. That sounds dangerously close to an order. Consider it a negotiation. 7:30? I let him wait one extra second. 7:30. When I left Belmont House that night, Dominic walked beside me to the front door, but did not reach for my coat, my purse, or my choices. Outside, Philadelphia glowed beneath the streetlights after a light rain. 3 weeks earlier, $10,000 had been placed beside my name as if money could make me stop asking questions. It failed. Dominic had spent years believing power meant being the person who could change everyone else's answer. I taught him something simpler. Real respect begins when someone has the power to say no, and you value them exactly the same afterward.